The recovery of Lent as something other than a time to give stuff up is one of the great accomplishments of the post-conciliar church, I think. And it was a matter of rethinking Lent according to the model of the ancient catechumenate, the way adults were brought into the church in those first centuries and introduced into the Christian mysteries. And Lent, as we experience it today, falls into two parts. From Ash Wednesday until through this Saturday afternoon, Lent is an examination of conscience. How well have I lived the missionary discipleship to which I was consecrated in baptism? What in me needs purification in order to be the missionary disciple I was consecrated to be? Those are the thematics of the readings and the prayers in both Mass and the Divine Office for the first 2.5 weeks of Lent. Then beginning this Sunday and continuing through Palm Sunday, Lent takes on an explicitly baptismal or catechumenal character. It depends on the parish. We're in cycle C of the lectionary cycle this year. But in every year, the three great gospel readings that completed the catechumenate for early Christians are read. Either on Sunday, that's in the A cycle, or when we're in cycle B or cycle C like we are this year, they are mandated to be read during the week. What are those three, and you can actually move them if you're in C or B, you can move them to replace the gospel for that day. What are those three great catechumenal and catechetical gospels? The first is Jesus and the woman at the well. Where does Christian faith, where does prayer begin? It doesn't begin with us. It begins with the Lord's thirst for us. Give me to drink. So the theme for this third week of Lent that will commence on Sunday, or really at First Vespers of Saturday, how am I responding to Christ's thirst for my friendship and for my prayer? How am I responding to that? How can I drink more deeply from the eternal wellspring of friendship with Jesus Christ? Then we go, on the fourth Sunday of Lent, to the story of the man born blind, who's cured by Jesus. And for that week, we reflect upon the question, how are my eyes being opened to the demands of my mission? What scales do I need to kind of scrub out of my eyes so that I can see my mission more clearly? And then this culminates on the fifth Sunday of Lent with the gospel story of the raising of Lazarus, of which the critical moment is actually not the raising of Lazarus. It's Martha saying to Jesus, "You are the Son of the living God." So the reflection that week is, do I truly believe with Martha that Jesus is the Son of the living God with power to free me from the bonds of sin and death? As they took those wrappings off of Lazarus when he's raised from the dead, do I really believe that Jesus can do that in my life, freeing me from the bondage of sin and death? So in all three of these catechumenal gospels, these are the three last gospels that those early catechumens studied on the way to baptism. Okay? We are called to a closer imitation of Christ. And then, of course, in Holy Week, we live the drama of the Lord's passion, death, and resurrection which is the center of Christian faith and the axis on which history turns. With the death and resurrection of the Lord, history is turned. If that's President Trump, tell him I'll call him back. I have a few words for him, which he might not want to hear. That is the axial moment of history in which the world is turned back onto its true course. The cosmos is reoriented. That's what we spend a week reflecting on during Holy Week and then celebrating on Easter Sunday. And why do we do all this during Lent? It's so that when at the Easter Vigil or on Easter Sunday we receive the blessing of Easter water, which is baptismal water, we are renewed in our missionary discipleship.